Welcome to Pike County Update. I'm your host, Dr. James Riley. I'm the coordinator of the English program at the University of Pikeville and also serve as the Director of Communications for Pike County Government. My guest today is the magistrate from District 6, Bobby Varney. District 6 covers the Belfry area, Pond Creek, Toller, Turkey Creek, and South Williamson. Magistrate Varney has served 15 years as a member of the Pike County, the Pike County Board of Education.
Yes, sir.
And well over 40 years in the mining industry. It's a pleasure having you on the show, Bobby. We're glad you're here. You are the most recent addition to the fiscal court. And I expect you realize at this point that it's been a fairly thankless job that you have. It seems everyone has something negative to say about the county government. I never hear or read anything positive hardly. What's your perception been of the job the fiscal court's done since you've been a member?
Well, really, it can, and it is. It's an awesome job. It's a lot more involved than what I originally thought. Mm-hmm. And being hit with everything at once, like I did when I did come on board, as far as the weather and everything, it can overcome you if you let it.
Have you been surprised by anything that you didn't expect when you became magistrate?
I knew there was some negative stuff out there about government in general, mm-hmm. not just our government, but especially our local government and stuff. So some of that was a surprise and some of it wasn't. I was surprised of the things that people ask you to do that you can't do legally or you just can't possibly physically do.
Right.
You know.
Has the legalities been a problem? Is it easy to tell what's allowed and what's not allowed?
No, that's a gray area there, I guess. And I was real fortunate to follow Chris Harris as magistrate, because Chris Harris is one of the straightest men that I know, and he set a precedent for me that they can't come up and say, well, Chris done this and it might not be right, because I know if Chris didn't do it or Chris did it, it was right.
Right.
And so that made it a little easier for me. When people want me to do something on private property or something, I can't do that. That's against the law, and they can't have a comeback that Chris Harris done it.
Right.
So that was easy for me.
Has Representative Harris been a good resource for you?
He really has. He hasn't volunteered nothing, but he's just a phone call away if I need something.
Right. Okay. I hear a lot of talk about the perks that the magistrates in our county government get. I know you have a secretary in your office, and you've been a magistrate now for almost a year. You represent a sixth of the people in Pike County. Would you consider having a secretary an unnecessary perk? Is that your attitude about it?
I don't think I would have survived without my secretary. She'd been with Chris for 12 years. She 2 or 3 times she has. I've always wanted to help people in my personal life. As a board member on the Board of Education and stuff, and now as a magistrate, I want to be able to help people. So when people call and got a problem, I'll listen to it, and then I want to try to do something to help them. There have been 2 or 3 times that secretary has saved me from saying the wrong thing by standing in the doorway saying, "You can't do that," and then later she explained to me, but me not knowing. And a lot of people did try to see how far they could push me. Mm-hmm. They wanted to know where my limit was at. Can you do this or can you do that? And one guy wanted me to do some gravel in a spot on a road, and it was probably 10 miles to the nearest county road from where he lived at. So they try to push that, and she's been a big help on that. She's really saved me on that.
Okay. Shortly after you took office, Pike County was hit by a severe winter storm. We had a hard freeze and 2 floods in a row, 3 weeks consecutively, actually. How did these disasters affect your district?
Well, I don't think we were any worse than anybody else, but we got it hit just like any other district, and it tore up 2 or 3 of my county roads pretty bad. The road that I live on at Turkey Creek, it just about demolished it. And So yeah, hit with that. If I had not had the road crew that I had with their experience, that secretary with her, I might have quit that first month or two.
You feel like your maintenance personnel and your road crew were well equipped and did a good job on the recovery then?
Yes, sir. And countywide, our equipment is getting old and in pretty bad shape, but we have a top-notch garage and maintenance crew that keep it going. Sometimes with a piece of bell wire or something, but they keep it going. And yes, without them, no, they ain't no way. And then my road crew that I got, 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. Whenever I called and needed them, they were there.
Right. Have you been able to repair the damage to the roads from last year's storms?
I'm going to say I got probably 65 or 70% of it repaired. Another 20% of it is we can get by. No, I'm not. I've got a long way to go. We've done a lot, don't get me wrong, but I've got a long way to go on getting back to where we were.
Okay. We have another winter approaching now. What shape is your district in terms of equipment and preparation for snow removal and road damage? Should we have another winter like last year?
And I hope that we don't. I've got my fingers crossed that we don't. But if we do, we'll get through it, James. But our equipment is old, and it has caused some problems at times that we've been in the middle of doing something and something breaks down, and we've had to haul it off to the garage over at Ford Mountain, and the guys work on it for us to even get back going to what we had going on in the first place. So we'll get through it because I think with our, like the seal says that for Pike County, the greatest resource is its people. Well, my greatest access to or asset that I have as a manager is my people.
How many miles of roads do you have in District 6 that you have to take care of?
And I'm quoting this after my road foreman. I know that there's quite, and people don't realize that when I say it, but we've got over, I think it's 278 miles of roads in District 6, county roads.
Okay. I also know there's an auction coming up. I wanted to ask you about that. The county's having an auction of some of their outdated equipment. I'm assuming some of that equipment came from District 6. I thought you might want to mention that so people would be aware of it.
Yeah, it's November the 7th at 10 o'clock at our county garage on Ford Mountain. And it is some of the old equipment that we have. Some of it is still runnable and usable, and we used it up to the day we took it over there. Some of it is junk. Some of it could be sold as scrap iron, I guess, but we have several pieces of equipment over there that is usable, and the public's invited to come and bid on that. It's going to be auctioned off.
What type of equipment do they have there?
I think there's a grader there. I know of 2 backhoes they have. They've got 1 end loader, I believe. They've got several tractors and mowers. There's 1 dump truck, I think.
Right.
And I don't know what the rest of the list is.
Well, it's a pretty lengthy list. I've seen the list of the things that are being auctioned. If people are interested, that's November 7th. It starts at 10 o'clock, I believe, at the maintenance garage at Johns Creek. Let's talk now about some of the positive things you've been able to accomplish since becoming magistrate. I understand you have a thriving senior citizen center in Belfry, and we have a lot of senior citizens in Pike County. I thought you might like to talk about that facility for a minute. Let us know some of the things that are happening there. Yeah,
and the senior citizens in Pike County as a whole, I think they serve over 500 in-house meals a day, over 400 delivered meals a day. Now, at my senior citizen center there at Belfry, and it's right there in the courthouse. I had a knee replaced back in 2012, and it can be feeling bad on a rainy day or something, and I come in there and I'm getting old and that hurts and all that, and the aches and the pains. And this one 95-year-old lady, Elsie Smith there, she won 5 gold medals in the Seniors Olympics. So when I get around her, I don't feel bad no more. I mean, she's helped me a whole lot. But we do have a thriving senior citizens there at Belfry. I think they serve 55 home delivery meals a day. There's 25 to 30 in-house meals a day there. Got a great cook, a great director there. Susie Stanley, she does a great job.
We are at the Belfry Senior Citizens. It's a normal day here in the wonderful center we have here. We have a good meal every day, first and foremost, to make sure that every senior that we can feed gets to eat a good meal. We have activities. Today we made treat bags for our home delivery clients that can't come out. We have exercise, puzzles. We serve 55 home delivery clients. They're the people that can't come into the center. We have people that take their food out to them. They're all over this area from the Belfry to Sydney area. We have a home-cooked meal every day, as much as we can that's home-cooked. Very nutritional food. We have guidelines from the Big Sandy ad that we have to go through. Oh, my people, my seniors, they're wonderful. I learn something new every day from one of them.
You know, again, being around them and helping them, that's right up my alley, but they pick me up a little bit too.
Right. I know you've got a lot going on at Grants Branch. Can you explain what Grants Branch is exactly, where it is, and some of the things you've been able to accomplish there?
Yeah, you know, District 6 is full of history, James, but part of that history was Eastern Coal Company in Pond Creek and Henry Ford. Grants Branch is up in McVeigh, which is in the head of Pond Creek. It was a freshwater dam that the coal company, Eastern at one time, had that and started that. In latter days, I think Massey Coal bought all that out, and they had to come up with the specs that the Army Corps engineer had on it and stuff, which they did. And when they finished all that, they turned that over to the county. In return, we put a couple picnic shelters, some playground equipment. We've got a cabin there that we lease out for picnics, for parties, for weddings. We've had weddings, baby showers, you know. Mm-hmm. And it sits on the top of the dam, overlooking the lake. And that lake, we stock it with fish every year. People fish it when it is open. And it's one of them throwback lakes, so you don't get to keep the fish, but man, they've got some monsters in there that they've caught. And we have a walking trail around that lake. We are in the process of putting a sidewalk up the road up to it so people can park at the foot of it and walk that, which would be good for exercise. Also, I've applied for a grant to put an outdoor theater up there, you know, and when we do that, I anticipate bluegrass on the weekends or gospel music on the weekends and stuff. And I think it's just and it's a beautiful place up there. There's well over 100 acres, and I don't know exactly what it is on the acreage on that, but well over 100 acres there that the county owns. And we make reservations from the 1st of April through the last of November every year. We start them in the 1st of March, and usually by the 1st of April, all the Saturdays and Sundays is already booked.
Is that right? How do you reserve the cabin if you were wanting to use it?
You call my office there at the courthouse at Belfry and talk to my secretary, Donetta Rutherford.
Okay. You mentioned trails. Let's go back to the amphitheater. You said you applied for a grant. What kind of timetable are you on in terms of getting that project completed? Well,
the grant will not be approved until this coming spring. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at April, May. I hopefully, if it does get approved, that I can maybe get that done before the summer or by fall.
Before this coming summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, that's my goal. I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not, but just according to how they do on the grant.
Well, you mentioned the walking trail around the lake. There's fishing, there's picnicking, there's the cabin there for events. What kind of work is going on in your district in terms of the trail system in Pike County? I know there's a lot of talk about river trails and getting those up and running. What type of activities do you have on the Tug River? Yeah, now, and that's one thing that we do have in our district is Tug River runs and separates West Virginia from Kentucky, and it runs all the way down to the Martin County line. And I joined up with Hillman Dotson over at Phelps on the Tug River. My District 6 butts up with there, so we have the access to the river all the way down through there. Right now we have a couple of old ramps that people has put in to put canoes and stuff in the water.
and we have one that the Army Corps of Engineers did at South Williamson. I'm in the process of applying for grants and trying to get help to put in 4 or 5 more of those in my district along Tug River.
All up and down District 6 then. Okay, you mentioned the history of the area. I'm assuming there are Hatfield-McCoy sites in District 6. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, and we're more of the McCoy bunch in my district. At Hardy, Kentucky, we have the Randall McCoy cabin that the Hatfields burnt down on a New Year's Eve, and the Randall McCoy well there. Bob Scott owns that property. The county is leasing that from him. It's a tourist attraction. The Hatfields had contacted Bob, some of the descendants of the Hatfields, and said, the Hatfields burnt that cabin burn it down back years ago. We want to give the money to build one back. So they're in the process of doing that. They're going to pay for all the materials, and one of our colleges, our trade colleges, is going to provide the labor and stuff to build a replica of that cabin back on the original site.
So you're going to work from a photograph of the original cabin and rebuild the site.
Rebuild the site, yes, and I'm excited about that. That's something that I think will be started this coming summer.
Right. Okay, well, you have a lot going on there then. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you might like to mention?
Well, no, and again, I go back to the people that live in our district. It is a lot of history there. You got Henry Ford that came in there and built a house and started Eastern Coal Company. He named the seam of coal that he was mining metallurgical coal for the steel for Ford Motor Company. He named it the Pond Creek Seam, and it's world renowned for what its BTU was. The ash of it was low, the sulfur was low. It was perfect for metallurgical coal, and got a lot of coal miners there. And I was a coal miner. My dad was a coal miner. My grandfathers, both of them were coal miners. So it's a unique bunch of people, and I can't say enough about them and the bond that we have, the family, the people that work for me over there, my road crew, my secretary, even the different offices in that courthouse. We're just one big family, and we get along real good. And if somebody hurts, all of us hurt, So, I can't say enough about my people,
Well, we appreciate your time, Bobby. I'd like to thank Bobby Varney, magistrate from District 6, for taking time out of his schedule to be with us today. We look forward to hearing more about what's happening in District 6. I know the people from that area are pleased to have you representing them. I'm Dr. James Riley, and we appreciate you joining us. This has been Pike County Update.